Welcome to Wake Up with Joni, the podcast where embodied consciousness meets life through awareness, where we don't just talk about awakening, we live it, and where the journey inward becomes the foundation for how we lead, love, and move through the world. Today's conversation is a little different and deeply personal. I'm sitting down with someone I've had the privilege of knowing not just as an artist, but as a soul evolving in real time. My guest is Allie Michelle, a globally recognized spoken word poet, author, and creative force whose work invites us into vulnerability, emotional truth, and radical self expression. She's the author of several deeply loved poetry collections, and with a new book, Don't Wait to Light the Candles, releasing soon, her work continues to invite people into emotional courage. She is also a certified meditation, breathwork, and yoga teacher, bringing a spiritual depth, foundation, and presence into everything she does. Beyond that, she's also my daughter. And today we're not here for a typical interview. We're here to explore what it means to live truthfully across generations, to navigate identity, beauty, depth, and purpose in a world that often rewards the opposite, and to ask the questions we don't always get to ask each other. So, this is a conversation about art, but also about becoming. Welcome, Allie.
Thank you for having me. What an amazing intro. I love that you tacked in and she's my daughter at the end.
And BTW, she's my daughter. Well, we've done a few of these, but what's fascinating to me is the evolution because both of us have matured over the last decade in pretty profound ways, in my opinion. And I know that to be true about you. So this is going to be a great conversation. Is there anything you want to start off with?
No, I'm just so happy to be hanging out with my favorite person.
Well, thank you. Let's just dive right into the good stuff. You
Okay,
ready?
let's
Okay.
let's plunge.
Okay. So you've built an entire identity around vulnerability and depth. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I suppose I have.
So who are you when you're not being witnessed? Are you the same person, or what are some of the differences, do you think?
I'm so relaxed. I'll speak for myself. My message is what's the most difficult for me to practice and learn. It's not easy for me to strip off the armor and be vulnerable. And even then, I can release a poem that is vulnerable and then get comfortable with it. And then it's no longer vulnerable, but it appears vulnerable externally. And so I'm constantly checking in with myself and also asking, does this moment ask for vulnerability? Not every moment needs that. And when I'm alone and there's not a lot of eyeballs on me, I feel very calm and comfortable.
Mm. Well, I've been a part of conversations or seen you have conversations where there's this thing where you see people, like you really see people. And so, do you have to be careful not to see them too deeply in that moment because it freaks people out? Or how have you, how do you navigate that? Because it is one, it's a gift. And two, what it does is it pulls forth an intimacy and a depth of conversation that maybe that person is not used to or has craved. So, how do you navigate that?
I mean, that's very kind. I think if I'm seeing things, I'm still only seeing one facet of the crystal, and I know that. And I think that the ability to be present and listen and see people can be unnerving. And I've learned that it's not my place to open a bunch of doors within someone all at once. The kinder thing is really to just stand outside of each door, waiting for someone to open it for you and allow
Mm.
time and space for that trust to build. But seeing is really just listening to the person in front of you and trying to practice like what are they actually saying underneath this? How is their energy, their body language, and um, versus like the kind of egoic, I have to show them that I see them.
Right. Which I think a lot of people fall into or and healers sometimes. But what you're describing to me is a way of witnessing people. So actually sitting before them, looking them in the eyes, holding the space, holding the energy, but waiting at the door. That's really well said. Where'd you learn that?
Yeah, it is witnessing. That's the term for it. I think so much of love is learning to witness each other. And I think about how in old fairy tales, you never tell someone what your real name is. You tell them like an external name, and then you only tell the people who you absolutely trust what your true name is. Because to know someone's name, to see them, is to be able to influence their heart. And so I think part of that witnessing is earning trust enough to eventually earn their true name.
So the thing about the name, you and I loved the Game of Thrones, and one of our favorite characters was the girl with no name, Arya.
Yeah.
So, what do you think that journey is for a person? So, if you could describe that, but what do you think that journey is for you in becoming or aspiring to become a girl with no name?
Yeah, I think about when Jack and Hagar is training her and she's like, I am the girl with no name. Give me one of the faces. And he's like, these are Arya Stark's clothes. These are Arya Stark's sword. What do you mean you're the girl with no name? These are your attachments to this character you've created. And I'm not a monk or a sage. Of course, there is an identity here, and I'm not trying to transcend that, but I am trying to, again, be in the constant state of witnessing and listening for who life is asking me to be, what life is asking me to do. And if there's an aspect of my personality or identity that isn't helpful or serving and is actually more of a survival strategy, can I put it down? Or am I going to hold on to it and wait for life to put it down for me?
Yes, great point. So, what you're describing, I would think, and tell me, it feels like if you're in that place of waiting for what needs to be for your next evolution, what thing needs to be presented for your next level, what relationship, what have you, whether it's a book or a publisher or a movie deal or a human relationship. If you're in that place of just allowing that to come, there's no fear. Yes?
Yes and no. Like there's always fear of change and fear of the unknown and fear of having an uncomfortable conversation of, hey, this doesn't resonate anymore. Can we change this? And so there's still that people pleasing aspect of me that's, oh, I gotta have the hard conversation. But if I don't have the hard conversation, life gets really hard. And that's when I've gotten my teeth kicked in, where all of a sudden I'm living my life one day and then it flips upside down because I was ignoring that guidance for so long. And so trying to listen to the quote Jack and Hagar in life and be like, okay, I need to put down this sword and put down the clothes so that I can wear the face that needs to be worn without changing my essence.
Yes. And so I experience you on a daily basis, almost a daily basis. And I know the authentic you. I know who you are. So what I see on Instagram or what I see when you do a spoken word, I see authentically you. That is authentically you. But like you said, there are so many facets to the diamond. And so one other facet that you have to embody or step into is businesswoman, which doesn't sound a lot like flowery, poetic, flow stream. How do you navigate being both and?
I don't know. I don't know that I consider myself a I guess my brand is a business, but I don't look at it that way. I just am doing things one step at a time. I'm just trying to do the next right thing. And so if I'm in conversation about a specific project, it's like, what is the next right thing? Am I being as honest as I can? Am I holding good boundaries versus trying to look at the entity as a whole and like slipping into the girl boss archetype? I'm really just taking things one step at a time.
Yeah, it's interesting because who you are, which one of your famous lines is find the strength it takes to be soft. And I think that's the anthem
Yes.
because right? So it takes courage, it takes strength to remain soft, to remain vulnerable. There's an innocence to you, and you've remained that. How do you do that?
I try to protect my childlike nature. And there's a distinction between being childish, where you look at someone and can see like the Peter Pan kind of
Yeah.
archetype of, okay, we've just never grown up. And then there's childlike, which to me is really just maintaining a sense of wonder and awe in the world, that no matter how difficult or how dark it feels, I'm still finding those moments of beauty. I'm still noticing the light peeking through the leaves and the morning dew on the flowers. Like I can still find these little everyday miracles. And I think that is another theme across so much of my writing is finding the extraordinary in the ordinary instead of striving.
Mm, I love that. You were told that from early on, because you were such a lovely human child, you were told early on that beauty was a gift, that being beautiful in this world is a gift. You didn't earn that, but you earn depth. You earn integrity. You earn those things. How did you hear that? And how did that color the way you are in the world?
I don't think I really felt beautiful until my mid to late 20s.
Mm,
Oh, and I think there's a wound in there of self-esteem, let's say, but I actually think it protected me and was a brilliant survival strategy because I had to develop other aspects of my personality and my writing and find other ways of contributing to the world.
mhm.
And it doesn't really matter whether or not the world considered me beautiful. Again, I didn't feel beautiful or emanate that energy until later because I didn't really sit with what beauty actually is, which to me is like the ripping away of the veil between us and life. It's like, you see someone so comfortable in their skin and so who they are, and it's like that's beautiful. I think that wound is something that I'm constantly integrating, but it did protect me for a time.
That's interesting. And it also ties into a story you once told. You had come down to visit me in Long Beach and you took a walk along the beach. And there's something about you that draws these characters
Yeah.
into you. Do you remember what
Yes,
I'm
I remember that man.
talking? Share with the people. What was that experience?
Yeah, I was on a walk by myself, like you said, in Long Beach. I think you guys were out of town and I just like went to stay there. And I was sitting on a bench and I was on my phone texting and it was by the ocean and I just hear, "You were born underwater." And I look up and there's just this man with his hands clasped behind his back. And I was like looking around. I was like, "Pardon? Is anyone else born underwater around here?" And he just like looks around and smiles and he's like, "You're a writer," and starts telling me all of these things. And he reads my palm and he didn't want anything. He didn't ask for money or he just gave me a prophecy and said that everything would turn around for me at 27. He said that was the year that I would essentially stop hiding. And he was right. I forgot about that until now.
Well, and the point of the story is your energy draws these characters in that are somehow connected to another layer of life, another energy field, and they're all beautiful. It's just fascinating to me. But you're so gracious with everyone, which I just, that makes me want to cry.
I love you.
I love you so much. We have been each other's teachers.
Hmm.
I'm thinking more than one lifetime, but
I,
anyway,
I think so.
yes.
I think we've hung out a few times.
So, with hundreds of thousands of followers on the various platforms, what is that like to have your um, art, to have your visage, your everything out there like that? What does that feel like on a daily basis?
I don't really know anything else.
Mm.
And humans are just so adaptable, right? And I've been doing this for years of just putting my work on the internet. For better or worse, there's a recorded history of my artistic evolution. Before it was so much harder to get published. And so now you can see my journey from the very beginning when I was 18 and first started writing poems. And I actually like that you'll see the imperfections and that when I'm 90, you'll know, oh, okay, this is not where this started. This was everything that it took to get there, and how many books had to be written, and how many hours had to be put in. It's a huge honor anytime someone reads my work, anytime someone connects with a poem or picks up a book. I don't take that for granted. I know that that's just such an honor for an artist. It's just a constant evolution.
Has it, or how has it cost you emotionally? Because I think what I've noticed is your followers in particular are awfully kind. I mean, I don't see a lot of unkind comments, but you're in a public arena. How has it cost you emotionally?
I don't think the people on the internet have cost me emotionally very much. Maybe when I was a teenager, my engagement was way higher and it was a lot. Just your content reached more people back then and it reached people outside of your community a lot more. And
Ah,
now it feels like I've got my people and they're there and they support my work and there's like a relationship there. I don't think they have cost me emotionally. I think engaging with social media has cost me emotionally and mentally too. It's cost my focus more than anything else. And so that is something I'm constantly trying to combat of um I analyzed this fairy tale on my Substack. It was Rumpelstiltskin. And basically he visits a princess and he is like, I'll save your life. Just give me a gift later. And she's like, of course, done. So he saves her life. He comes back and he's like, I'll take your firstborn child. And to me, it's this funny allegory of when we're desperate for this sense of immediate relief, we're giving up our birthright long term. And so if I am just craving the relief of putting something out there and getting witnessed, and I focus on a post that day instead of a book, I'm giving up my birthright in a way because people will not remember anything I posted on Instagram, but they'll have a book in their home. And that is the most gravitational force I can offer, but it also is the most delayed gratification.
yes. Oh, I can't wait to start to talk about your new book coming out. Speaking of books, but I have a few more questions before we get there. Speaking of writing, are there any topics that are taboo? Are there any things that you won't write about or don't yet write about? Anything that's too vulnerable, or what do you think?
Yeah, there's so many things and that is I think that is my work right now is not censoring myself in my own home, not rushing to say something online because everyone is pressuring me to, but really looking at what is the highest use of my voice or the deepest use of my voice, not even the highest. And so right now I am practicing what does it look like to write about politics and religion and what does it look like to touch these topics that no one wants to, at least again within my own house to see how I feel about it? And then how do I incorporate that into a fictional story to create more empathy on both sides?
Do you feel like your writing, the words that come through you, are they coming from a higher place? Or I would say, are the ones you love most, or maybe the most connecting? Do you think that it's kind of like channeling, you know? Does it feel like that flow when you're really in that zone?
Sometimes it feels different. Sometimes when I'm writing fictional novels, it does feel like I am collaborating with some other force. I am holding the gates open wide enough for some other, call it energy, guide, whatever it is, idea to come through. And it doesn't feel like I invented it at all. If anything, it's just I'm listening and I'm recording what I find because these scenes just come so perfectly formed and arrived sometimes that I'm just like, I that's the only thing I can way I can describe it. Versus a poem feels really personal a lot of the times, and it does feel like it comes through my lived in experience, and it feels like sometimes it's cleansing and sometimes it's creating more wholeness, but it feels more like it's coming from me personally, if that makes sense, or the world around me. It's a bit more three-dimensional, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. My experience of your poetry is it's lived experience. especially recently, so especially in the last couple of years and the new book coming out. It's lived experience, it's embodied, it's depth. And then the fantasy piece, you've always had an amazing imagination, but like you said, that they're fully formed worlds that come out of your brain. It's fascinating. So, what do you think is the difference between true connection, projection, and fantasy when it comes to love? Because you write about love quite a bit.
It's like my main thing. I used to be so hard on myself for being like the Taylor Swift of poetry. Um, I love Taylor Swift. She's built a whole empire. The difference between projection, fantasy, and true connection in real life or in writing?
You tell me, is it different?
Yes, because in fantasy, you can still tell the truth in writing. You're using lies to tell the truth, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I can create a fictional world and a fictional love story, and there can still be a lot of truth explored within that versus real life.
Yes,
Like,
I see what you're saying. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. But what I experience in your fantasy books is, yeah, this is definitely a made up world, but every character is a fully formed being with a backstory and with, like you said, these truths that are woven through. But the question is, and maybe we can just talk about just a human to human relationship. What's the difference between true connection, projection, and fantasy?
Projection, I love Carl Jung. I love dream analysis. And one thing he says is show me the five closest people in your life, and I'll tell you what aspect of your psyche you're trying to integrate. So to me, projection feels like I'm pasting an image on you because I'm trying to integrate this thing right now. And I remember when I was really trying to integrate the wild woman archetype within myself, and there was this one woman I saw, and she was just larger than life and enigmatic and said whatever she wanted. I was just so in awe of her. And then I integrated that. A year later, I saw her again, and she was just a person to me. Like, not good or bad, just a normal human. And so the projection was pulled away from her because that became a part of me. So that's how I
Wow.
view projection is it's like a useful pasting on to people where it's not useful is in romantic connection, obviously, because then it becomes like then we're entering into the territory of not actually seeing someone for who they are and picking and choosing which parts of them to love. And going back to love is witnessing. It's like I'm not actually witnessing you, not in the totality of you. It's like I'm latching on to this one aspect. And so it's a huge practice to set aside my own fantasies, projections, whatever it is, and just keep that prayer of let me see things true.
Yeah. So true connection is the witnessing and
Yeah.
seeing true.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So you have very strong intuition and emotional depth, and you have 5 planets in Pisces. So there's a lot going on over there. So how do you stay grounded in
I'm walking 100 miles.
Oh yes, you'll be walking Santiago. Do you want to talk about that for just a sec?
Yeah, I always wanted to walk the Camino de Santiago after reading Paulo Coelho's Pilgrimage about 10 years ago. I always wanted to walk it with the love of my life because it felt like such a microcosm of what it means to live a life with someone, of crossing through harsh deserts and like just going on this hero's journey together and learning how to work as a team and endure and still love each other through it all. And then I was just sitting there and I was like, don't know where he is. So I'm taking myself and 9 strangers. And it started as that, but then I started walking in January. It's April now, so it's been about 4 months. And I feel like I've got my life back. I feel like I haven't felt this way since I was a little kid before smartphones and social of I'm outside for half the day at least. I'm not on my phone. I take it with me for emergencies because I'm around to like mountain lions and bears and things, but I'm really just present and walking and connected to nature. And all of a sudden, there's negative space in my day where I'm not overstimulated and I can hear my soul. That's how I really stay grounded is like nature, movement. And I don't even realize how much is wound up inside of me until I go for a walk that day.
Mm. So you are going with Dr. Jeremy, and
Dr. Jeremy Goldberg, long distance love bombs.
yes, yes, I think you guys met 10 years ago when you were doing your podcast.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Met through Jade, and Jeremy's done, I think, 6 of these, and he's brilliant at them. And I almost booked his a couple times, and then he sent me a message and was like, "Hey, do you want to do this together?" So it was kind of crazy timing.
Yeah. Are there any spaces left or no?
There's one
They're gonna have to train really fast.
really fast. Yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm not gonna try to fill this because it requires a lot.
Well, you never know. So
Yeah,
I
you
will
never
put it in
know.
the show notes because I think it would be an extraordinary thing to do,
Yeah.
especially with the two of you, because he's got the psychological piece of it. You've got the meditative yoga, breath work. I think you could hang a shingle out as a coach like today because you have such an insight into people and you're able to inspire them and uplift them and make them feel good about themselves. And so going on the journey with you, that piece, that feminine nurturing piece. So the two of you together, it's a great balance.
It's such a great balance. He is very structured and will keep us from dying, and it'll be great.
We like that.
Yeah.
So before I start asking you about the new book, what is something, because we've talked about family and future children and things like that. So what is one thing, honestly, that you'd like to unlearn that you learned from me
From you specifically?
in order to fully become yourself?
Oh, you're so lovely. I don't know. Alex and I send voice notes every day, and both of us talk about what a standard you set for motherhood. So it's really hard. I guess if anything, I think you and I are very hard on ourselves.
Hmm.
And we have a lot of grace for other humans, but we're quirky and there are coffee spoons everywhere.
My listeners know about those spoons.
And sometimes we leave our phone on top of the car and then run it over on the way out. And there's like a lot of judgment that comes with making mistakes. But I also think that that eccentric, chaotic feminine piece is part of our magic. And so, yeah, I guess releasing the judgment of that.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will work on that myself. It's been an ongoing project.
Right? At least we both do it when you stay with me. It's like there's 100 coffee spoons.
We're like, oh, look,
Another one.
let's make an artistic design out of it.
We really can. John would be mortified.
Going back to the public facing you, is there a part in relationships that maybe doesn't get what the public facing you gives?
Yes, one thing that I intend to integrate more into my writing that I haven't yet figured out how is the like goofy humor and sharpness and fire that is there because my front facing image and persona and my writing tends to be very emotional and poetic and sensitive and soft. And sometimes you can feel that sharp, fiery humor more in fiction, I think, because the dialogue, it can bleed out there. But yeah, if I were to put an aspect in, I think it would require a lot more courage to include those pieces because I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if it will go well.
Well, as one who experiences your sharp wit and sense of humor often, I mean, just 2 days ago, we were on the phone for about 40 minutes, and I think I laughed at volume 10 for 39 minutes of that. And
Oh, that was so good. That was my favorite call we've ever had.
the endorphins and the dopamine, it was amazing. And then we were laughing about me. You have a wicked sense of humor. And so I would definitely want anybody in your life to experience that. Because I know your inner circle does. And you have a couple of inner circles. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? You talked a little bit about surrounding yourself or the 5 people in your life. How have you navigated this world of disconnection and created connection or tribe?
Yeah, so when I look at Dakota and I both love studying archetypes, and The 12 Major Archetypes by Carol Pearson is my favorite book on it. Every country has its own archetype that's in the shadow. And for America, it's the archetype of the orphan. Because we're
Mm.
so individualistic and production driven, that sense of belonging isn't really there the way that it is in other countries where, like, let's say Italy, you have multi-generational homes, you're with your family, you're never going to be homeless. Like, everyone's feeding each other. There's a whole village. It's just like, come try my pasta. No, my pasta's the best. It's like so communal. And so part of the way I've integrated my orphan is by really building a cast of characters around me that are like family. We call ourselves LAX friends because it's like I will pick you up at LAX, which anyone who lives in LA understands what that means. It's a marriage.
It is a
It's
sacrifice.
it's huge. It's a huge sacrifice. So when I look at my fantasy book, what I like about it and what I didn't intend to do is that it's not a romance, really, and it's not just an individual's hero's journey. It's actually about a group of friends who love each other and would die for each other and are trying to grow and figure it out, and they fight like a family and they love like a family. And I think that's what I see in my life is like my friends are my priority. Like I will drop my work for one of them.
But that is a clear intention. You intended that to happen. It didn't just, you woke up one day and you had these fabulous people sitting in your living room. So there are certain things that you do that I've seen, and I talked about this on another podcast. I was talking about you.
Aw.
How you guys put your phones down and
Yeah.
you really show up for each other, and that you have these intimate gatherings of, under the tree named Fran in your backyard. It's just really beautiful. It's really lovely because you curate that connection. I think it's really important.
Yeah,
So I,
we invest in each other. Even like for my birthday, Jordan got me a journal and like hand wove the Spanish flag around it and burned Buen Camino into the journal because that's the greeting you say on the road. And so it's like the art of thoughtfulness is being lost in the crisis of comfort.
mm, that's a sound bite.
There you have it.
There you have it. You used to call me bumper sticker mama. That's a really
Oh,
good one.
there we go.
That's brilliant. I love it. So let's name the fantasy book, The Legends of Lemuria.
Yes.
The second one is in editing now. So it's a
Yeah.
trilogy.
Yeah, I think the greatest lie a writer ever says is like, it's almost done.
It's in edits.
It is actually an edits, but like I was done editing and now I realize I have to change the whole love story between Zaya and Jace, and so that's requiring me to go back in. It will be done when it's done.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a trilogy.
It
So
it is a trilogy, yes.
keep your eyeballs open for that out there. But let's talk about Don't Wait to Light the Candles. What does that mean? That's the title of your book. Where did that come from?
It's kind of what it sounds like. I think I spent the first half of my life being an observer, but not really a participant. I was
Mm.
very sheltered, as you know, and I preferred to watch people and watch life. And when I think about what is the small scale of that, it's like buying beautiful candles that you wait for the right moment to light. And there's so much of that happening right now of I'll say I love you when it's right. I'll leave my job when it's right. I'll do when it's right. We're running out of when it's rights because the world is so uncertain and unstable. And what do you do in uncertainty? You light the candles. You seize the beauty in front of you. You lean into the love that's right there because we don't know. Nothing in life is really guaranteed. And so, and not doing that in a way of I'm going to leap out of an airplane and start wingsuiting and blow all my money in Vegas, but really just how can I live and bring my whole heart into the moment that I'm in?
And it goes back to, too, honoring yourself, even if you're alone with the candle, lighting the candle, the
Yes.
experience of being with the candle. Because I would be that person who had these perfect candles sitting around everywhere, and they were the same candles for 10 years because I never lit the freaking things.
Yeah. And
Every
now,
candle in this house has been lit, by the way.
good. It's like, okay. I need to let go of this story of I'm going to walk this road with the love of my life and just walk the road and light the candles and piss off my air purifier, you know?
And walk your talk.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a couple of big questions, three more questions for sure that I want to ask you. But can you talk a little bit about what the poetry is like in that book?
It's different. The first half of it was written over the course of 3 years, and it's pretty true to, I would say, what my work usually orbits around: love, death, time. And then I signed the publishing contract. I submitted the manuscript. I was like, it's done. Here's 100 poems. And they're like, where's the other half of the book? And I was like, pardon?
Excuse me?
Excuse me? And so publishing deadlines are super serious because it takes a certain amount of time for it to go through edits and approval and design and print. And it's why it takes a year for a book to come out with a larger house. And so they were like, we can give you an extra 24 days. And I was like, 86 poems in 24 days. There's no way. And there just wasn't room to question if I could do it or not. And so at first I sat down and I was like, I'm just going to write and write and write. And it didn't work that way. I had to actually just live and look for a poem in real life that day instead of
Mm,
just sit at a screen. So I said yes to every social plan every single day for 24 days. I was just out meeting new people, having new experiences. I ended up at a folk festival in Ojai. It was so random. Just these like little adventures I'd go on. But I always found a poem. There was some person, some moment, something that was said, something that I saw. And I realized like inspiration is not really this elusive thing. It really just comes from living totally. And so the 86 poems are very different because it just forced me to grow. Like usually I'm writing through reflection and an experience that has already been digested and packaged. And these are just very raw. And this is what the moment was. I don't have time to perfect or polish this. We're sending it in.
mhm. Well, it's fascinating too, because the way poems come through you, it's not normal. It's just, it is not, people sit down and they struggle and they do a line and they do the things flow through you. They always have with this, with the right. You were writing since you could pick up a pencil. But there's something that you do on Instagram where you'll ask a question, what do you want me to write a poem about? Or something in your life, something like that. And you'll choose two or three to do it. And you just, within 24 hours, these profound things that make me cry are sent back to these people, which is what a gift to give to people. Somebody who's followed you for 10 years and you reach out and they actually, you give them the gift. It is a gift from your soul. So that's a very cool thing, but they're spot on. It sounds like another way to put it, when you were doing the last 86 poems, you were translating life in real time.
It is a translation of life, and I guess I'll never fully know if it's spot on. Like I give the poems and people are like, "Oh, how nice." It's kind of also the least I can do because attention is no small thing right now.
Mhm.
Everyone's maxed out and overwhelmed with their attention. And so the amount of miracles that have to happen for someone to see a poem, actually read it, actually feel it, and
Mhm.
then maybe buy my book, it's just that is not a small thing. And maybe it was when Instagram first started, people were just less maxed out. So I feel a real responsibility in any sort of attention that I'm holding.
Well, I think anybody that I've ever interviewed or really felt a connection to or wanted to lean into, there was a level of humility there, which is inherent in what you just said. There's a humility. You don't take any of this for granted. There's no entitlement to you, which is how come?
Yeah. I think you're
Why?
my mother and your view is a little skewed. You're like, you're so gracious and talented, and it all just flows
I'm perfect
through
and
you
amazing.
after birds dress you in the morning.
You're doing it to me again. Oh my God. Stop. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I do have mice in my house sometimes, but they've never dressed me. Yeah. What were
Okay,
we talking
good.
about?
What was the question?
I don't
Where
know.
Why are you so gracious?
Yeah, not always, not always.
Well, let's put it this way. Most people, how are you learning to navigate not being self-centered?
Think we're all inherently self-centered. I definitely like I am the center. I'm the main character in my own existence, but I feel the worst when that's how I operate.
Hmm.
And so whenever I'm like spiraling or depressed or panicking, even with this book launch, I just remind myself, I'm like, this is not the epicenter of the universe. For me, this is a huge moment. For everyone else, they're like, oh, cool, she's doing another book. And so I think constantly placing myself in the context of the rest of the world of like, I am part of the whole ant hill and I'm an ant. It feels so much better.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And your book signing will be May 5th, 2026, right?
Mayfair, the last bookstore, 6 p.m.
Okay. So a couple more questions. Anything else you wanted to say about the book?
I guess the other thing is like, yes, it is my response to our fast-paced world, and it is largely about embracing humanity, but it's also a huge theme in it is my journey of womanhood and what that actually means, because I have been transitioning deeper and deeper into an embodied woman over the last couple of years and really having defined for myself what that means in this world now, because it's a completely different world than it was even just when I was a kid. It's me trying to wrestle with these larger questions.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
what's an emotional inheritance that you would like to pass on?
An emotional inheritance. What do you mean?
Well, so we talk a lot about ancestral work.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about the shadow work. There's a line of really powerful, strong, ridiculous women in your lineage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What about that would you like to pass on to your children?
We've got chutzpah. We really do. And I think like just the women in our lineage are so resilient and we just make it work. Like, yes, my shower head broke like a month ago and instead of fixing it, it's like I'm just gonna duct tape it and it'll be fine. Which is funny in the moment, but also it's such a gift to be able to think on your feet and just adapt. And so I feel like yeah, the resilience would be the greatest gift to pass on, which thank you for asking that question because I think we talk so much about inherited trauma and we rarely talk about the inherited gifts of our ancestry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we call that Caldwellian fix.
Yeah.
Your auntie, me, and you with a roll of duct tape. We can rule the world.
Oh yeah. I mean, like quick side story, we were in Kauai and Chelsea, sweet Chelsea, who you know, was filming an episode for her docu-series. And we showed up. She had booked a shoot with these horses. So we show up at the horse pasture and it's the only day we can do this. And she locks her very nice, expensive camera in the car with the keys.
Oh no.
There's only so much light left in it. And she's so sweet, but I just see her face go still. And I was like, oh no, like this can't be it. So our friend Bria, she works with the horses. She had horse whips in her car. So I pulled the glass window slightly and wedged a horse whip in. And we were like trying to open the car door. I'm in like a corset, just like wiggling the horse whip in to get the camera out. Anyways, eventually this sweet man rescued us and got it out. But yeah, it's that energy of like, I don't care if I'm in a corset, we're gonna figure this out.
We got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So your Substack, your writing is really beautiful. So if people want to find you there, where do they go? How do people find you?
Yeah, Substack I love because it has that what I was talking about. Like it's very exploratory. I feel there's no pressure whatsoever. So a lot of it is experimental writing. It's just Allie Michelle L. You can just find me on there.
Allie, Allie Michelle L.
Yeah.
So we have one more question. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. How do you recommend that the listeners go out and live their most alive lives?
create enough space to listen for what that means for you. Because my most alive life is being in nature, being with the people I love, and having the time, bandwidth, and capability to tell the stories that I love. When I look at my god sister's most alive life, it is designing jewelry and being on a red carpet and being an actress in movies, and that's her most alive life. Dariush's most alive life is breeding reptiles. Like it's just we all have very different modes of aliveness, but now I think the danger is because we are largely outsourcing our thinking, and there's so many ways to numb how we actually feel. It's like create enough space to know how you feel, create enough space to know what you need, and to stay in real time with it because maybe that's not my most alive life a year from now, and that changes.
I
Yeah.
love that. So live with curiosity and grace and allowance and witness yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for choosing me as your mom.
Oh, thanks for choosing me as your daughter. It's been such a fun journey, hasn't it?
It's been a ride, man.
Yeah.
It's been a ride. Looking forward to the next however many decades.
Many, many.
You always get mad at me if I put a cap on it.
I know, you're
So
like 20 years. I'm like, shh.
don't tell the universe. All right. Well, I love you. And yes, I do project onto you my love of you. And but I think I'm quite seeing true. So mwah,
I love you. Thank
I
you so
love you
much for
too, hon.
having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. If this conversation touched you, if something landed, stirred, or stayed with you, take a moment, please, to subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with somebody you care about. Because when we simply give for the sake of giving, the ripple we create reaches far beyond what we can see. And if you're feeling called to go deeper, there are a few ways to step in. For one on one coaching, you can head to wakeupwithjoni.com or use the Calendly link, or you could get my book, Stop, Look, Choose Your Journey to Peace and Freedom. It's a guide to help you come off automatic and into conscious choice. And for those of you ready for a more immersive experience, visit paradiserantsretreat.com to explore upcoming personal and couples retreats. Now, beautiful humans, this is your invitation to go out and live your most alive lives.